you now, your time has come. Now gaze deep into your mind. Well, some people are unkind, and I'm not really sure, I wonder why. They go to Golden Gate Park to drink beer, to drink beer, to drink beer, to drink beer, to drink beer.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Full Pint Podcast. This is a show where we talk about current trends and topics in the world of beer with some of the most interesting, famous, and influential members of the beer industry. I am your host, Danny Fullpint, co-founder of thefullpint.com. We are back after spring and summer vacation with our president, Andy Carter. But before we begin this episode, we'd like you to know that you can find us on all social media platforms at The Full Pint. Now, let's just jump right in. How's it going, President?
It's good. You know, when I don't get headaches. I try not to, when I was a kid, I got them a lot, but I know when I'm getting headaches, it's summertime. The allergies, they're in bloom. It's not just the hangovers. We're 40 now. We got to slow down on the barley wines at 1 o'clock in the morning. But, the summer is here. The beers are getting lighter. I have a Pilsner in the glass, but I still got an IPA waiting on deck, just ready to go. But how is the beginning of your summer treating you, Danny?
It's good, but I swore I just saw you put down a glass of whiskey.
Well, no, I'm a bourbon guy because I went to Kentucky for my birthday, and now I'm trying to move all that old Sukaba, get it out of here. I'm going back to the source. I want to go to the barrels. I want to go to the Four Roses. I want the Bardstown. I want the Buffalo Trace. I got to be, and what's good is all these years, these decades of beer hunting, they are paying off rich dividends when you're trying to wait in line for bourbon. Let me tell you, all that stuff translates 1-to-1.
Right.
So, I'm just right in there like an expert on the bourbon hunt. So,
well, and I'm getting the retail price on the taters because I waited 5 years till it was not cool.
Yes. So now there's, with people that don't know about, so beer can be made in roughly like 30 days. So whatever you make today can be sold in about 30 days. Bourbon, years. A minimum 4 years for something useful. And so if everyone's hot for bourbon today and I just hit the gas pedal on making more bourbon, I don't know what it's going to look like in 4 years. So, more than 4 years ago, they made a lot more. Still shortchanging the market, not enough. And now we're finally seeing some of these really hype releases as 5-year-old hype releases have finally hit the market and at a moderately reasonable prices. So just wait. We'll be having the full Tater podcast in a few years where we tell you the market is dead and there is no more and everyone's selling all of their distilleries. So just wait for that episode to come out.
That's on its way. But what I think is also great, and this is how I feel about rare beer, and I've always felt about rare beer, was that whole notion where people are like, oh, I just got bent over and spent $300 for this bottle from Iowa, and I would be remiss to not say it's the greatest thing I've ever tasted, because otherwise I'm a real idiot.
Well, yeah. And I think, it's funny because I just, as a prop for this episode, I was like, oh, let me just pull out a random rare beer you gave me once. And I'm like, someone would have given one of their children for a bottle of Cycle Brewing not many years ago. And now you just ship it across Los Angeles in an Uber and no one cared. No one blinks an eye anymore.
Didn't even ask what was in the box.
Didn't even ask what was in the box. Just ship it. It's funny. I don't know. It's hard to say that bourbon. Okay, to some extent, bourbon was influenced by the craft beer market because there was now an outlet other than Scotch for empty bourbon barrels. So bourbon barrels are flowing out of Kentucky or out of anywhere, out of the United States into beer making. And now you have weird things like where Kentucky bourbon stout barrels are going back to a distillery. Just like these weird new economic loops are trending. I just think it's funny that, this bourbon trip I did, we went to Old Forester, Peerless, Buffalo Trace. The same types of people are all at the same ones, right? The same couples are going, hey, hey, honey, maybe not that third glass.
And also just walking around shaking.
She's just like bringing all their parents to buy the single barrel of Foolproof Weller. But you still have the same people. It's like, well, I'm only here to drink exactly one thing. And it was on this tour and it was only like 1 ounce of it. And it's like, in that same like pumping everyone up, like, oh, this is amazing, this is the best thing I've ever tried, and we're drinking these. I'm like, these are good, but
Sure.
I'm not. I've already lost the reality distortion field from beer. I'm like, I'm gonna drink what I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna like what I'm gonna like, and if even it's the cheapest thing, that's fine, and not pump someone up unneededly because I don't like it. Right? That's so maybe I've never had the distortion field, but it was fun. In Louisville's a great town, so good for me.
I gotta do it, but I just I don't know. I just can't imagine it.
It's
that clip.
It's we did a week. We did about one distillery a day. We took it really easy otherwise, just hanging out. There's plenty to do in Louisville. It's not, I would say Nashville is like super party town where you can't stop and it'll burn out very quickly because it just seems to keep going.
Sure.
Louisville is like definitely can be quieter. I think there's maybe some crazier parts, but the beer there is also very good. The two things I'll bring up were not Atrial, it's Atrium Brewing was good. And then there was a like Belgian lambic influenced place that definitely had like Swansea Day every year and that kind of stuff. And they
Yazoo?
Not Yazoo. No, that's Nashville. This is Louisville. It's called I'll look it up. It's called like it's just on the tip of my tongue. But there's multiple of that same brand. There's multiple, like there's a wine place, there's a dinner place, and they just did great Belgian beer. Went to like a barbecue place that was just off the wall great, and like $3 beer and a shot, like crazy deals. Yeah, I mean, overall you'll have a great time in Louisville. Anyone would have a great time. There's nothing stopping. There's nothing. There's no missing elements to there, and amazing dinners and amazing food. So
now, was there any like surprises? Like, oh man, the gas station had some rare bangers or something, or
I mean, I would say like because I do pretty good research going in, I pretty much know what to expect. Like, there's definitely liquor stores, nicer liquor stores that will be like, well, 1 ounce pours of for a price of any like crazy thing you want. So like you've been looking for this one thing, here, have it, but it's 75 or $100. I would say surprisingly, maybe the surprise was how much Midwest beer is available. So any Three Floyds beer was available, like flagship half acre, no half acre, but Three Floyds for sure. Many good beer was available there, so there was not a stopper, and I think that was good because we're like, well, like we said, we did like one distillery, maybe a second one a day. And you're like, well, you just want to hang out and just like play board games with people, and just like we can hang out the house and watch like stupid TV or something, and not just be like, well, let's open up another bottle of bourbon and all fall asleep. That doesn't work. So, yeah, I think what else was maybe surprising? I guess maybe what was surprising, maybe this could be surprising or not for people listening, but like I would say like things were marked up, but not like at the level like you would be like in an out of state markup. Like things were a little more expensive, but you could get, if you wanted a certain bottle of bourbon, you could probably find it. Now if it was, what they call allocated release, that's where they only make so much a year and it only goes to so many stores, then those are going to be more expensive. But in general, you could find like anything in any liquor store in Louisville was easy to get of like the normal stuff. But I think it was the most surprising was what kind of beer was available in Louisville. There was a lot of different beer available in Louisville, and that was very nice. So made it for a nice trip. Yeah.
So we did take a big break from the show. It's I don't know if it's a pivot for the full pint, but we're kind of jumping off the grind portion of it. So when we do something, it's because we're having fun. Don't really want to take it as a business anymore. We had a lot of fun doing that, but now it's like, hey, if I want to podcast, if Andy wants to podcast, let's podcast.
Absolutely.
But the rodeo portion's kind of naturally winding itself down. But we do have some topics to talk about today. The first one on the list is, this is about a month old news now, but it's still pretty cool. The Stone Brewing sale, the second sale of Stone Brewing. So I don't know, what was it, about a year or two, probably 2 years ago?
More than 2 years ago.
Yeah. Stone was in financial trouble, over leveraged on a big note. I think close to a billion, was it?
Because they did build out Richmond, and they just setting up a pipeline for beer where there was no, it was, road to nowhere, in my opinion, right? There was
Sure.
no place. Where was this beer going to go? And I think their competimates or, peers in the industry were already acquiring new brands, new places to go. And, we've beat this dead gargoyle for many years on this podcast, but, Stone backed themselves in a corner by saying, we're a craft beer, fizzy yellow beers for wussies. They had a very specific brand. And when you do that, as time shows you, when you do that, you have to backpedal a lot. When, hey, I got to add a seltzer. Well, that's not that's not that isn't really Stone branding, right? To do something that isn't an aggressive bitter beer, right?
You might get some new customers, but you're alienating the people that got you famous.
You're not being consistent, right? And that's where that's the problem, is that works, right? Like we in a similar fashion, Brewdog has since, well, they've not only closed, he's come up with a new name. We'll cover that on another podcast. There's it's Second Coming or something, it's something even more ridiculous.
We've purposely not covered much Brewdog on the Full Pint over the last almost 20 years, just because it's such a clown show.
It's clean. So at least they give a little more respect to Stone. But anyways, they were purchased by Sapporo. Sapporo comes in and, they start making those your favorite sake bomb beer in Escondido, California, and, try to level the ship, right? I mean, I think Stone Delicious does very well in the, ballpark arena market,
airport.
I think I do see a good amount of the Buena Vesa, so some lime lager. So, I mean, they're definitely skidding away in a controlled manner from just straight hop beer. But like Stone IPA, you don't hear that being sold anywhere or any type. Enjoy by.
I mean, when I go to the Forum here, the Inglewood Kia Forum, that I can count on a tall can of Stone IPA, which is pretty funny. And so I know what you're saying is they're not they're coming out with a new limited release. I better go run to the liquor store.
The Enjoy buys are gone. The even season, they didn't even call them seasonal releases, call them they had a different term for them. Just like, we're going to release Stone Russian Imperial Stout. Sublimely Self-Righteous is in the mix still, which is good. I appreciate that. But I couldn't point to some, they'll do an anniversary beer, which will inevitably be a triple IPA with new hops and maybe a collab. But the thing, the charm, and before we go more into the current status, the charm of Stone, in my opinion, was one of my first, big breweries I loved was Stone. I got them in the Midwest, had a ruination, fell in love, came to California, moved to California for work, but then I was able to go to the Stone Brewery, met a bunch of people there that now are still my friends, ex-employees of Stone, and it was like that was it, right? And they would do collab beers with local breweries. They had collabs with Green Flash, collabs with homebrewers like Kelsey McNair, who then makes North Park. I mean, they were the front runners of everything.
Sure. Yep.
And now that's all, all that has gone away because of growth or, mismanaged growth and so on and so forth.
We know what's funny was I attributed, whether like it or not, I attributed Stone as very significant in craft beer history and influence. And I remember this was, probably over 10 years ago. I got an unsolicited email from Garrett Oliver just throwing up all over that notion that Stone had all this influence and Greg Cook had all this influence. And I'm like, somebody's jealous. Like
that, but okay, so we're talking about Brooklyn Brewing have Black Ops, a beer you're not allowed to talk about. And what else? I mean, that's a little precious. I mean, I think Garrett has influence. Brooklyn Brewery, sorry. I'm just going to say sorry. And then
nobody knows who he is out of the old guard anyway, though.
That's a funny thing. There's some other individuals. I could count a few other individuals that would think they are as influential as Stone. Stone moved 90-day shelf codes. Vinny tried to and didn't have enough beer, but to have Stone Enjoy by say 90 days, take it or leave it, we're pulling it off the shelf. That changed a lot of people. Stone having a distribution, Stone distribution was, I think, fundamental for distribution companies now to say, look, we need to hold the line on cold chain. We will not accept otherwise, and the consumer won't. Now, with the lack of Stone, maybe people get lazy, maybe. but I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to check in on the distribution
So
in
so
years.
either way, jumping over, like, we've done plenty of history
Yeah.
for Stone, but the new news is Firestone Walker is kind of on a merger and acquisition kick right now. They, about 3 months ago, made news saying, okay, we are acquiring the brand and intellectual property of Trumer Brewery, which, for just to put it bluntly, is Trumer Pills. It's kind of like when people call Anchor Steam, but it's like no one's talking about Trumer Pale Ale or Trumer Hess.
There's not many other brands inside the Trumer portfolio. You're buying 30,000 barrels of Pilsner, yeah.
Right. And so then not soon after, it was they were acquiring the intellectual property, the name, the brand, the heritage, the goodwill or badwill,
Goodwill,
all of it.
Goodwill, and actually Goodwill is actually always good unless it's negative. So it's negative Goodwill. So
Sure.
those finance heads out there.
And acquired Stone. They acquired their storefront locations, the one in Liberty Station, the one near Petco Park, the one off the Delmar train station in Pasadena, and interestingly enough, not the Richmond, Virginia location, and not the Escondido Stone World Bistro and Gardens, which is just this gorgeous destination.
And I think I read it correctly that Sapporo would continue the Richmond location as a production facility, but the Escondido one has no purchaser, no owner. And so there is a liminal space right now between what it's still going as it is until it will cease. So for those that have not gone to the Escondido facility, first of all, before the age of Google Maps, you could not find this place. There is no signs. There's no place to go. There's just parking lot. No, they cherished not having signs. And then you saw this big monolith of a building. You walked in, and it was actually like entering a oasis of stone and sand and plants and gargoyles and beer fabrication. One of a kind experience, in my opinion. And
People, beautiful.
People have copied and remixed and edited that, but never again can you create something like that. And they only outdid themselves, in my opinion, when I went to Berlin, because the Berlin Stone facility was just everything learned at Escondido brought to a whole another level. So never to be repeated. Right.
And so, all of a sudden, and I guess everybody's entitled to their feelings and their hot takes, just as we are. But immediately it was like I jumped into a time machine where people immediately went right to the worst case scenario. I don't know why you think this is good news. People are losing their jobs. Well, at that point when the news came out, nobody had lost their jobs. I know personally firsthand, my friend who is a sales rep for Trumer is now a sales rep for Firestone Walker. So they're not just blanketly axing jobs. I'm sure that if there's too much overlap, there'll probably be some consolidation. And it'll be interesting. All we can do now is kind of fantasy football it with, like, what is Firestone Walker going to do with this 30-year beer brand that probably needs a little bit of rehabilitation?
We have synergies for both breweries. Firestone clearly knows how to make a Pilsner lager style, light lager style beer, a blonde lager style beer. Trumer will only bolster that portfolio into more markets. I think the Stone one is interesting. Oh, before I go into Stone, I'll just say, like, yeah, buying a brewery is one thing, but the employees that have the street knowledge where they sell their beer and who's coming up and who's going down and where to move it is important. So you just don't 86 a bunch of people because we have the same person. A Trumer salesman knows how to sell Trumer, so on and so forth. The Stone one will be more interesting because if Stone essentially is only brewed in Paso, where do the special things come from? And my understanding, again, Danny can back me up. I think they're retaining Liberty Station as a
They are.
place.
They
So
are.
there will be this propagator. I would say the prediction market would say by the end of the year that becomes a Firestone propagator, Liberty Station, something like that. They just fold it into the branding.
You don't think they're going to keep it as a Stone?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Stone version of that, because that's what I think. That's
Stone
what
propagator.
keeps the soul
I mean,
of.
I think they want to, but just to think out loud
Sure.
a little bit. I think to get keep the numbers and branding, it depends. I think it's an opportunity, but because they're closing, I mean, Escondida. Hard to say where Escondido is on the debt mark, the debt note on that one. I don't know if they put a bunch of money in and now there's a bunch of debt they have to sell off, but like there was an opportunity there to create something. So maybe it stays as Stone Liberty Station, maybe not. But I wonder if that becomes, that'll become an out place for Stone one-offs, or they could do it in Venice. Sam could do it in Venice. But I wonder if the play here is to reduce Stone to like 4 or 5 SKUs nationwide, and just clean that out and see where they end up, because it's tough for me to say, like, if you have this portfolio, remember, all owned by Duvel, by the way.
Sure.
So then you have a layer of Firestone. What is Firestone? Where do they want to put their? And I do this in my own job. I'm like, money is we all have a piece of money in our head. We think of money as something, but if you think of money as energy, where do I put my energy? Where do I put Bernelson? Where do I put Sam? Where do I put these guys in? And what do I make them think about? Like, where do you want to end up? And we've had failed execution on light beers, failed execution on non-alcoholic beers or big beers or brown ales. Like, where do we want to go? And I wonder if this is a winnowing of a portfolio and then bring back core elements of Stone in other ways. But again, it's like, I only recently bought a 4-pack of Union Jack, or a 6-pack of Union Jack, that I've not bought in a while. I was not super thrilled with that Union Jack. I would rather have more of the propagator super IPA type things and not the core brands.
Yep.
So I'm wondering what the story will be with core brands against monthly or seasonal releases, and how do I reinvigorate that? Because I think what that's missing is, where do I put Stone IPA, and do I make it anymore, or do I say, hey, I'm good with it, I'm going to move Stone in another direction? That I don't understand. And all of this to finish my part of this, all of this is to build pipeline in the Firestone behemoth brewery. This is all fill empty capacity and sell that, which means the sales guys need to start moving a lot more of what they make available, if they can make something available. I would say there's an outside chance Firestone kills a couple cores in favor of Stone, as in, I would rather push Stone IPA, or I would push this or that, versus the same one, because then you have a lot of mixed messaging, right? Hey, I'm coming for Firestone and I have Union Jack, but I also have Stone IPA, or something like that, where there's essentially a the same two things on both portfolios. We'll have to see. I think they may go back and forth, or they may say, hey, we'll push A over B. But yeah, it's going to come down to, it's interesting. I would say those are more like almost big beer arguments, right? Like, well, Budweiser would push a Golden Road,
or a Michelob,
or a Michelob, or a Michelob, or they have a Space Dust versus a Golden Road Point the Way, or how do they know that? Is there some marketing? This gets into like marketing statistics, and not like just pure craft beer. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that the advantage that Firestone has is like Stone is very much a San Diego market. So it's like, okay, you can keep every chain restaurant can keep their Stone IPA. And people are still feeling like they're buying a local beer, which kind of are still. The way I see that they're gonna keep the Liberty Station one as the pilot brewery. I just think it might be a cookie cutter of the propagator. And yeah, I just think that they really just have it's the IP and any goodwill that Stone had over 30 years. They're going to take the good, toss the bad.
And there's employees still. There's the old owners. This is me being a very nerdy person about these brands. I always appreciate when Greg and Steve Wagner spoke on the beer. Right.
Right.
They folded in new people, and not to say I don't know those people, but there's I don't know them as well because those weren't the founders. I don't know if those guys still want to talk about beer and be a part of it, but like it would be nice
Right.
as a
They
old
still
head.
trot out David Walker for events. Like they understand they need the characters.
But we've said this before, the characters matter, and I think if you don't bring Steve and Greg out, you need to find your Trumer head, that the Trumer Brennelson, and you need to find your Stone Brennelson, and you need to make them.
They're keeping, as far as I know, Chris Ketchum, which is
Chris Ketchum. He's the Liberty Station guy, and he's
right, and he wins for this Black Wit beer every year at GABF. It's funny to even say that out loud.
Classic.
Not that he's not talented or the beer's not good. It's just nobody's thinking about a wit beer or a black wit beer, and so that's pretty funny. And they could have maybe pumped that up. I don't know if
I think that's what you have to use.
IPA,
but I think Stone is better. Or sorry, I think Firestone is better at that. Right? They are better about putting people in those positions.
Correct.
At least coaching them into those positions. Right? I don't know if Matt Brennelson was just an introvert and then became this thing. Dave Walker came out of the womb marketing beer. I mean, this is clear to me. Like it's you talk to him, he's immediately he's so happy to talk to anyone about it.
Right.
So I think
even the Wort Wrangler.
Yeah. Oh, those videos! Check out Wort Wrangler's Instagram. He had some great videos with Dave. But I think what you need to do is that you need to put those people, those Stone and those brand people in front of the camera, and if they need work, if they need help, if they're scared, help them, like push them in front so that the brand can be carried by more than just Matt. That's the concern, right? Will Matt carry you through a large growth of Stone? No. I think Chris could if Chris is pushed and coached correctly. So that's what I think is critical. You need to have brand captains, brand lieutenants. You muted yourself.
All right, good. I was just testing it. I went on I went out to dinner with my wife in Pasadena, and we don't like trying to find parking, so we took the A line. And
look at you, so green.
Right. That and parking. Good God, what a racket!
Parking is a racket. Yeah.
And so Del Mar Station, after we ate dinner, I said, all right, let's go into Stone Company store, whatever they call it now, the Stone store. And my God, Andy, it was like getting in a time capsule going back to 2010. It was like, here's some Stone IPA dog biscuits and a Stone cycling jersey and Stone baby onesie. I'm like, do you remember there was a time when people were eating this up? Like down in Escondido, they had like a whole store for people to walk around and get dumb bullshit like that.
Ruination, bike shirt.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember a lot of like a Dickies work shirt.
Yeah.
But any beer you wanted on it. Like it would have it all figured out. Yeah. So good.
So yeah, it was just so funny. It was like, and then the beers was like, I was back in 2010 as well. It was, a very dark brown IPA, like crystal malt out the wing wang, super bitter.
So this is funny because I think we look at Stone as being in the 90s. We have Sierra Nevada starting like 1980, I think. And then maybe, how many years ago? It was 5, maybe 7 years ago, they did they did like the Sierra Nevada like World Beer Camp tour, where they did this really cool mixed 12-pack, one bottle
I remember
each. That. And it's funny where Sierra Nevada stayed nimble enough to do that, where the leaders were still in control. Because of course, like I said, the old founders of Stone have long gone, right? It's more of a marketing, engine than it
Lore.
is. Yeah. And so that's actually where, okay, we'll come back. We'll rewind this on 2026 for future predictions. But Firestone and Duvel need to do that 12-pack. They need to really bring everyone home with this mass distributed brand pack in 27.
Right.
Call it now. You have the portfolio. You want that Oma Gang, 3 Philosophers. Boom. throw it in there. You want a Stone Ruination, boom, throw it in there. You got to do this, multi-brand thing to remind everyone, and then see what
Right.
hits off of that. So we'll come back to that one. But
All right.
there's
Bookmark
opportunity.
that.
There's opportunity in having a portfolio. And maybe we've talked about characters and brewing and flat, and owners, but portfolios can be exercised, I think, in ways to understand the consumer as to where they're going, right? I've always been a big proponent of hoppy Belgian style beers, and those give you ways of doing that. So time will tell, but I think you have new opportunities with owning multiple cult brands, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and I just it's going to be interesting because I can't tell you unless they just want to get rid of their competition. I can't see. I don't understand. I on the surface am not understanding what they're really trying to do.
Well, I've heard some things, and I probably heard this after having a few beers with someone, so I don't even know who told me this, but it's kind of like when you go to a supermarket, you have a wall of cold beer, and if you can own more of those percentages, then you have more control over how much beer you sell, because I can mix and match that wall. So now that they own more of those slots, it is helpful for them as a direct to consumer thing. Now they have to deal with their distributors, which is a whole nother thing that I have very little experience with. So they have to go to the distributor thing, but if you can own more of those slots, then your life gets easier, or your life becomes easier to predict. So that's
Right.
part of it.
Right. So Andy and I took the year off on Firestone Walker Invitational Beer Fest. Let some other people have some new eyeballs on it, see if there's any new takes. And I watched it from Instagram that whole weekend, and it was status quo, and I mean that lovingly. It was another amazing year.
Yeah. We typically release the Full Pint official list of who's coming, who's going, who's left, who's not. We didn't do that show this year, but generally speaking, more breweries than ever, but also there's a big churn. People go away, and new people are spotlighted. And I think a couple notable, I think Hill Farmstead had not attended in many years, and then they're back. Or Alchemist was there. One of the people get around. But my friends, Wirt Wrangler, friend of the show, Wirt Wrangler Antonio, definitely went, had some great videos. All my friends went, and I didn't go. Danny didn't go. I've been telling this to people. They're like, "Hey, why wouldn't you go, man?" I'm like, for me, having ice cream every year is not fun, right? You lose the value in having dessert every day. And I'm like, hey, this is the best event. And I even polled some people, just if they're like even adjacent craft beer people. I'm like, what do you think, Firestone? I'm like, oh, this sounds amazing. This sounds like the best beer event ever. It is.
It is.
But then it loses its value. I was talking to a brewery owner 2 nights ago, LA, fairly famous LA brewery owner. And I was like, what did you? He's like, no, you go and you have a good time. You feel like you have to go. It's at some point for people that own breweries, you feel like if you can go, you have to go. And
well, you also don't want to lose your invite either.
You lose your invite. And then the other part was, what do you think? I asked the question. It was a little more of a leading question, but I said, do you think this is what GABF was 10 years ago? He's like, absolutely. Back when GABF was a big thing, GABF was the thing you had to go to. Now, no one feels like they have to go. They have to go to Firestone, which is interesting. This to see what I'm kind of curious what Danny thinks of sustainability. Any history of this podcast will tell you how much we love this event. It's quantitatively the best beer event. How many years can this keep going before people are like, I don't know. To me, running a homebrew festival, definitely the cost of it is going to start to hurt people. They're going to see prices that will be unsustainable. And for homebrew fest, we have to change what we give people for the ticket. We can raise the price, fine. People will absorb some of that. But we do need to change things, right? We may change some shuttles, may change some of the stuff we do. But at one point, does this beer event become, not useful to people or not working? So I'm wondering Danny, what do you think? What would you, if something got worse, for financial reasons, then the event stops happening. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about.
So you take GABF, which is it's a for-profit money raising event for the Brewers Association more than anything, and they're leaning on a lot of volunteers and free beer and media publicity to prop this hog up. And hold on, I'm gonna mute to cough real quick.
Did the opposite, but you got it.
Did the opposite. You get the point. Firestone Walker is a charity event, and also is known to be a loss leader. So it comes out of a line item out of marketing to celebrate and keep all of craft beer relevant just by doing it. So it's a purpose-built event. It's believe it or not, it's like, it's not a jerk off kind of a thing. It's like a look, we need to honor craft beer. We need to honor the best people that make it and set this apart from the all you can drink for 5 hours slop fests that are advertised on Facebook.
And I do see that as someone in an industry that, technology industry manager there. I do think of when I hire people and think through like what I want for my own employees, like you can work for me, you can work for my competitor, but in general, we want smart people, good people making good electronics. Same thing for beer, right? A good lead brewer,
Callahan brake pads.
If you ain't growing or you're dying, there ain't no third direction. You have to support your community because you don't know who's coming to work for you or who you're sending out to work for someone else. So within the brewing industry, it makes complete sense to be communal. And if maybe they saw this, maybe they were smart enough. They probably are smart enough to have seen like, oh, GABF is not going to be what it was. We need to make our own event where we can kind of cater to our own people. We want to keep the synergy going and then create those good relationships. And so that makes total sense. And if losing money is a part of it, so be it. But it also makes money for Pioneer Days and Paso Robles. It's just that, when your running costs increase, how do you pay for it? And I think what you've said is, you hit it on the head, is that they're willing to take a cut to keep it going and just keep the economics of the event solid.
It's just right. And it's an I know this sounds corny, but it's an investment.
100% investment. Yeah.
In the genre. It isn't like, it's not even an advertisement for Firestone or 805 at this point. It's craft beer is still a decent thing to be interested in kind of investment. So
it's amazing. And it's amazing because it is, like we said, it's best beer event. It just hits every single thing. Like what else could it do? Like, I don't know what else it could do.
So all I can hope is that for the sustainability of the event is that the folklore continues to a next generation of drinkers. So it's not one of your Andy Carter homebrew fests with a bunch of dinosaurs.
This is true. I think like I said earlier about creating new heroes, you have to create new heroes within it. They're working on Adam Firestone's son as a new hero, and time will tell, of course. But you got to bring in, you can't send Ken Grossman out. You got to send his son out. You got to send Steve out. Where's Steve at this event? Where is the heir apparent to Russian River? Where is the new people that are going to propel us in a new direction? Now, I think the hop farmers are doing a better job of that. They've been hiring ex-brewers to be hop, not necessarily farmers,
ambassadors,
but like hop ambassadors. Who else? There's I think part of the event is getting new breweries. They have, we did, read the spreadsheet we made, there's a bit of churn on new breweries. They want to not only have their friends, but also international market. And also the size. I will say this was the first year where I believe I didn't do, I actually need to add it to this full pint spreadsheet, but what's the cost per ticket, cost per VIP? I believe it went up quite significantly this year compared to other years, but still sells out, right? No problem selling it, So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think the key element is how do you keep the folklore, and that comes from finding your heirs and pushing them in front and making them the focal points of your brewery leading up to the event, not just saying, oh, hey, we brought, Vinny 2, we cloned him, we got the vats, we got the Simcoe cryo tanks. We've been growing Vinny in the lab. He's bigger, he's stronger, he makes better Simcoe. Who is that? I think that's a key thing. Bring this up later in the year, but like, is a key part of like who are your brand, who's going to show your brand off in the future.
It's been so long since we podcasted. I thought it would be worth mentioning. I took my daughter up to San Francisco to watch the Phillies lose 2 days in a row.
Solid.
And Russian River is more mainstream than I've ever seen. Like, you can go anywhere and there's a Russian River handle or two. So that was great to see, where it wasn't like, oh, you got to know a guy who knows a guy who has Pliny on tap. It was like, and it was also in Oracle Park. So
it's been
pleasantly surprised.
Been pretty easy to find in Los Angeles, so very good to find that. Yeah,
but that's good. Speaking of your cool homebrew fest, we missed that. You want to fill us in on how that went?
Yeah, do a quick one on that one to do a drive-by. So Southern California Homebrewers Festival, Temecula. Listen to old podcasts, you'll hear more, but great year this year. More breweries than ever. Pro breweries. We do a Pro Pour night Friday night before Homebrew Fest. We had like 13 breweries. Sam Turney, Firestone came out. Sam broke protocol, stole some 30th anniversary Firestone, brought that out to pour for everyone. It was fantastic. Ism was there, other local Southern California breweries. Great day. One of the best weather events ever. I can safely say, as the treasurer, there will be another homebrew festival. We did good financially this year, and we cut some costs, so the numbers make sense. So I wasn't going to say that back in January. I was pretty worried, but I can confidently say we're good for next year. So back in Temecula, another year. I would say the only the big part of the event is obviously the home brewing. That's the primary reason we do it. 70% of the reason we have it. Beers were never better than they've always been as good as they've ever been or better. Standouts. People do weird stuff with fruit that I would never have seen. So fruits and hops, but also the hoppy beers. I've always been a little negative on even my own home brewing with hoppy style beers, but I had some hop beers that were, I was no way this was, it tasted like it had a glass of fruit poured into it type of thing, where the hops were just so primary and so strong that I was double taking, triple taking on people. Just another smashing banging year for homebrew.
Anything crazy happen?
No, I always pride
ambulance. No,
I always pride ourselves. So, because I'm not in charge anymore, I wasn't tracking that. I usually hear about it. We do, have first aid and everything, and usually those guys cut scrapes, that kind of thing. No Mickey Mouse.
Back to life.
No over ODs. No nothing. Just a little too much sunlight, a little too much sunshine. Is you're only thinking a little sunburn here or there. Yeah, I mean, we also have bands and everything. They sounded great. No, it was all good. I think that's the best part is like, I'm sure Firestone, like you have a big enough event, right? Enough people, bad things will happen. You have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And I think we have a very self-policing event that you just have no problem.
And you guys are all drinking pros anyway.
Well, it's a long day, right? We always tell people it's a marathon, not a sprint. So everyone's good and everyone takes care of each other. So yeah. And I mean, maybe I missed something, but it didn't hit my desk that anything bad happened.
There you go.
So there you go.
If the president's happy, everybody's happy.
Everyone's happy.
So next item on our list is there's a brewery that you may have heard of called Everywhere Beer, and we've had one of their founders, Daniel Munoz, on our show a couple years ago, and they're like one of the hottest like hype breweries right now, I'd say in the country, which was great. It's one of those companies that of former The Brewery that started their own thing not very far away from the brewery in Placentia. And, they have this beautiful aesthetic, beautiful branding, beautiful logo, but also really great beers. And you usually can't have it all, right? You can have like the vibes and maybe the beers or whatever, but they've struck gold. So
Yep.
They quietly opened up a shop up in Portland. I think last year. And then, there was rumblings. They opened up a place all of a sudden about maybe 3 months ago in Long Beach. And then they just opened up in Union Station in downtown Los Angeles, which has had a couple tries at a brewery over the last maybe 10 years. It's a great place to drink beer. And it's a beautiful space. It's, was it Fred Harvey? The Fred Harvey building?
I should know this better in living in Los Angeles what the names of these things are, but I don't.
And so they just opened up in Union Station. So if you're in California and you're not even in LA, you could take an Amtrak right into this place from any direction and anywhere in the country, really, if you really thought about it. But it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous place. You should look on their Instagram to get some pictures. And, Johnny and I went to their grand opening. Ironically, not on the train because we were running out of time. We took an Uber, but it was still nice. We were drinking low alcohol beers like sensible adults. And then all of a sudden, Ryan Dick, one of the owners behind the bar, is like, does anyone like barley wine?
Don't tempt me with a good time.
The problem is barley wine doesn't like me back. And these things were going down perfectly. Oh, why don't we have another one? And oh my goodness, I haven't had a hangover in years. But
so, Danny, I don't want to completely derail this with the everywhere, but when you started talking about a great brewery that's expanding out of state into new locations, I'm just gonna say, and I don't want to make anyone worried. I'm just saying, I'm here in modern times again.
Well, that's the first thing that comes to everyone's mind. When I was congratulating them at Union Station, Jeremy Grinke, Sour Jesus Online, said, well, there's more to come.
Okay. So
I don't know the deal. I don't know. I
can't talk about it here because, I know a lot of people and I'm not going to kind of call anyone out, but I've met people through brewing and I met understanding about what happened with modern times. And it is what people think it is, financially upside down. There's no bones
bad
about
real
that.
estate deals.
Maybe, the wrong books got to Bank of America and, maybe they're worth more than they thought. Right. Or maybe they're worth more than they said they were or less, right. So
sure.
I think that's the key part is just for anyone listening that doesn't own a brewery or isn't thinking about running a brewery. Right? Part of this is making beer. Just got to make good beer. It's tough to sell bad beer, but you got to still move it. Right. And it doesn't matter how many swimming pools you have or how much barley wine you sell. Still going to make the business make sense. So I did take a Waymo to the Los Angeles Union Station, and I loved it. I had a nice dinner there, had some great beers, huge, beautiful place, and they had not opened the bar, the
Steamliner or whatever.
Steamliner, this steam, the Streamliner, more bar, liquor mixed drink
cocktails,
cocktail area. They're open that. So I think the big negative on there is the parking rate. It is really about taking a public transportation there. It's harder to get there, hard to get anywhere in Los Angeles as driving a car, let alone Union Station. But Union Station, I mean, I'm so happy that they moved closer to me because now I could have their beer.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
They're like how they're pulling this off or if it's going to work. I can't tell you. I know that they had a front seat to what happened with Modern Times. I feel like they took their first spot. They took over from Gunwale Ales. So I don't know. I know that right now the distribution model doesn't work unless you're making north of 100,000 barrels.
Yeah, I mean, at least.
And even then you're playing with the big boys who already know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean there's other breweries that are doing more the drop it in a market model where a hot drop.
Sure.
So they could play that game. if they have the national
Juice.
exposure, the juice, right? They have the juice. Yeah, exactly.
But my buddy's human robot over there in Philly, they have about 4 storefronts, right? They're not distributing. They're not going to bars and begging to get a handle and all that resource
Yeah,
sucking shit.
the East Coast beer distribution model is just so generative on generate yourself, right? Treehouse, Trillium. I'm going to fly back out there and buy a bunch of Treehouse at a Treehouse facility. I'm not going to go see it at at a shop, right? They
Right.
can somehow culturally they can do that. We just don't have that out
Right.
here at all. There just doesn't exist yet.
Nope.
So
It may not. Since the last time we talked, Monkish now has a 3rd location.
and I've been there 18 times since they opened up in Echo Park. They were supposed to open that place up
Like 2 years ago.
2 years ago, been waiting patiently. They finally are. Now I've been, so many times. It's tiny. It's basically, the size of a drive-through Starbucks with no parking, you know. So, but when you're in there, it's great, and they have all their beers, and their beers are fantastic. Good coffee next door, and so
The only hazy double IPA that I can say I love is Monkish.
and I'm just happy they're moving closer to me. There seems to be people moving closer to me every day. We'll see.
Well, who do we want next then?
Ooh, Live Oak, Texas comes out to California.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see what we can do with that.
We'll see.
All right. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about, Andy, is I think it's the most prevalent so far in the AI age that we're living in is small businesses, right? We've talked ad nauseum on this show about how hard it is to be a small business or a small hospitality business, right? You have to pay somebody $20 an hour to wash dishes here in California. It's a weird time right now. I'm not saying the dishwasher guy or gal doesn't deserve the $20 an hour, but then it's hard to turn around and sell a beer for $8 when you're interviewing for the next person all the time for 20 some dollars an hour entry level positions. Anyway, nothing new there. But so now Chat GPT, Gemini, Claude is all in everybody's hands. You can get a free version, and people are making digital flyers left and right. And everybody knows that they're generative AI, and immediately the comment sections are flooded with people and their hot takes. You've taken jobs. You should be paying for an artist. You're using slop. All this, right? And then those are the same people, in my opinion, that are complaining about the prices of the glass of beer, or they're complaining that the next restaurant just went out of business. Why can't a place stay open in my neighborhood? So it's I don't know if it's a debate. I don't know.
It's a reality,
Do
right?
you think that these small businesses, do you think it's reasonable that a small business should be able to make a flyer easily?
Okay. It's a good question. I mean, this is good, right? Because as tools come out, and most of the people listening to this didn't remember a time, or maybe we're not part of a time when humans drew everything, right? Before digital cameras, we literally drew it and then scanned it or took a photo, somehow it got onto the internet, right? Or a photo was hand edited and brought into something. Right now we have digital tools, and then so that put a bunch of people out of work. Draftsmen, AI, at printing press, whatever. Right. So let's just that no one can bust me later. I'm just gonna start from that point and go forward. Right. So what does an AI or generative AI do? It can help you think, right? It can help you process information, right? Hey, I'm thinking about 3 things. What do you think about this? And give you feedback. It can help. So for that point, like, can it help me think through my job, like my business? Everyone can help with that. It can give you the sounding board. That's the thinking. That's the words to words. I don't know if this exists yet, but I think it will. Clearly, it already exists as the image generation, right? Hey, give me a picture of a cat, cat juggling 3 dogs. Okay, no problem. I can do that. But then it's also, can you give me a picture of a cat, but it's in a vector format where Illustrator, Photoshop can change it later? Because making a flyer, I've seen them, and actually, Homebrewfest CHA has done this too much, and I said, guys, I told the board, stop. You guys got to slow down on this because it's just all AI generated. It's clearly AI generated. Clearly not a human made this. Got to get out of it. You can tune those things to make your brand more what it's making, but some human in the loop. In the end, all these tools is leverage people to do something, but if you just let people do it, it's going to turn into crap. There's tons of Photoshop things that Photoshop does that make Photoshop look terrible. And if you did them, they would look terrible. These tools need to be pushed into the right area.
Correct.
I'm 100% on small businesses using them because they're going to lower, they will do things more efficiently. Now, this will inevitably put people out of a job, but that is literally everything's happened before us. This is not a new thing that new tools come out and people lose jobs. I want people to retain their jobs. I want people to have a good career, but this is the story of everything before us. This is not a new story.
So specifically to the craft brewery, I probably follow thousands of them on Instagram, and what I've noticed is they're tripling up somebody's duties. You're the lady who works the cash register at the tasting room. We also want you to be our social media manager for free, and we need to make sure that everybody knows it's trivia night on Wednesday and a burger special on Friday and the food truck on Saturday. And the effort of the creative has historically, and I'm speaking very generally, has been just garbage for 99% of the craft beer industry in their social media efforts. Here's a picture of the cans with some smudges and whatever. It's all been low quality work done by people that are not professional creative artists as it is, right? So now, instead of making the cashier do it, they're going, hey, chat, make a picture of a hamburger and people playing trivia night, and here's all the information on the event. Here's something. And I'd say, well, it's almost like a draw at this point. It's like,
I don't want it to be fake, but I don't want this to be for me, fake isn't going to work, but not doing it is worse. Not knowing is worse, right? If someone is so busy that they can't communicate that there's an event tonight, that's worse.
a brewery that's not doing very well isn't going to pay $40,000 to $60,000 for a consultant, a contractor, or somebody to do it correctly.
But someone that is on their staff. So I think this is where I'm getting is that there may be people on your staff that want to do these things, that want to invest their own time into these tools, and then they will come out of the cave with the tools to help you. And this might be people that you would otherwise write off as they're not going to do it. They're too young. I always have to put my HR brain on because I can't say those kind of things at work, right? They're too young, they're inexperienced, right? They just don't know it, right? Or they're too old, they'll never learn the tool. But that's the thing, is that these things can help you with that, right? They can help you get organized. They can help you put energy into things like, hey, this is missing. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Right.
And still put people in the right organizational framework and not just scatterbrained framework. So they're useful. I mean, this is the thing. To me, it's like having another person. You can be a sounding board.
Correct.
But it's always there, and it doesn't go to sleep, and it's relatively the same, except if it screws up. But people screw up. I think that's the thing, is like it can screw up too, but people do.
Yeah, and I just think that the group of people that are already misusing social media, are going to continue on that path. It doesn't matter.
We didn't need ChatGPT to have
bad content.
Obscene posts from breweries out in the high desert. Like, didn't need ChatGPT to do that. Still don't need him to do that.
Correct. But I personally, I don't know. Virtual signaling seems a little strong, but the people that are just running to the comments to go AI slop, you're taking somebody's job, I find it disingenuous.
Clearly no one did it. And I think to your point, I mean, this is where I talked about earlier about economies and what is this going to like an event, Firestone Homebrew Fest, beer, $9, $10, $11 a pint. These things cost money and businesses are going to just kind of mix and match how they do it. I can guarantee you, unless you're Russian River, you need to have a media plan. That media plan might be a person you purchase or generative AI. You need one of them. You're gonna pick one.
Yes.
The beer is going to be the beer.
It's going to be the beer.
If you're going to have for as of today, as of this recording of this podcast, no robot is going to make your beer.
No.
Who's going to talk about your tasting room? You're either going to hire someone that has experience doing that, or they're going to have to learn how to do that. They either can make an AI do that, or they can learn how to do that with an AI and then do it better. And then you can start to measure impact. Like, are people watching our stories? Are people paying attention to us? Do we have the right thing? Still a human is going to do that. They can be assisted by artificial intelligence. You can use AI for market research. You can use these for these things. These people may not exist on your staff, but again, there may be someone on your staff that wants to do it. And either they're doing nothing at your job or they're using this tool and doing something with it. Why not do the latter rather than just complain? There's I think it's called Jevons paradox or something about like when a new tool comes out, do you think that this is going to displace work or it actually just makes people more efficient, or do they do the same amount of work with the tool? Inevitably, people do more work with the tool. It doesn't like make the job easier, as in people just sleep all day. They just do the same amount of work, more efficient, do more, right? So that's what happens. I think the long tail on all this is that there will be less, unfortunately, and unfortunately is a worse situation, but there will be less need for certain jobs. This is the longest end game, right? But then we should have a way in our society, and this is beyond the full pint. This is a full nation question, right? What do we do when we can't automate everything? But we're not there yet. This is just these are the cycles we go through as a society where it's easier to make jobs. It's easier to do certain tasks within a career. What else can you do with that? But you can't charge, as of today, you can't charge $20 a pint. Not going to happen. You can charge 10, but who's going to get paid?
Exactly. All right, well, we're going to put a button on this episode. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around, who stuck around. Let us know if you want to see another one of these, and maybe we'll be right back on.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Take care.
You know that the reason for all life is the sun in the sky. I gotta stop wondering why. I had some stress, but it's gone. Didn't know what was wrong. Not really sure what we have to hide. Have to explain the need to get by. Is everyone dying? The dark side, you're thinking about blank, and you're gonna walk towards the darkness. The light side, you're dreaming about life, and you're gonna walk into the light. The dark side, you're thinking about blank, and you're gonna walk towards the darkness. The light side, you're dreaming about blank, and you're gonna walk into the light on earth. side at night. The light side